She had the kind of smile that could melt a decade. It wasn't loud or demanding. It was simple, familiar, the kind that made you believe in happy endings again. For years, Hollywood called her America's sweetheart, the woman whose laughter could light up an entire theater, the kind of actress who didn't just play love, she was love, on screen and off. But behind that gentle glow, a quiet storm was brewing, one that no one saw coming. Because the same charm that made her beloved would one day become the very thing that trapped her. The name was Meg Ryan, and for nearly 15 years she was the heartbeat of romantic comedy, the face of a softer, kinder Hollywood. From When Harry Met Sally to Sleepless in Seattle, she gave audiences something pure in a world growing more cynical. People didn't just watch her movies, they needed them. But then, as suddenly as she rose, she disappeared. Not in scandalous headlines, not in a dramatic collapse, but in a slow, heartbreaking unraveling that changed how Hollywood treated its icons forever. It all began with a decision, one bold role that was supposed to reinvent her career, and instead became the moment that ended it. By the early 2000s, Meg was tired of playing the nice girl. The roles felt repetitive, predictable, safe. She wanted to dig deeper, to explore the parts of herself that the rom-com lens never showed. So when acclaimed director Jane Campion offered her the lead in a psychological thriller called In the Cut, a film dark, raw, and deeply sexual, Meg said yes. It was a decision born of courage. But Hollywood doesn't always reward courage, especially from the women it puts on pedestals. When the movie was released, the reaction was explosive and cruel. Audiences who once adored her couldn't handle the shift. Critics said she'd gone too far. Tabloids mocked her. Fans whispered, "What happened to her?" To them, she wasn't exploring artistry, she was breaking an illusion. The illusion that Meg Ryan would always be the lovable girl next door. And just like that, a door quietly closed. At the same time, her personal life was being ripped apart in public. Her marriage to actor Dennis Quaid had fallen apart, and rumors of an affair with Russell Crowe made her the new favorite target of the tabloids. It didn't matter what the truth was, the headlines had written their story. America's sweetheart had become Hollywood's scandal. And for an industry built on image, that shift was lethal. Suddenly the scripts stopped coming. The romantic leads that once had her name printed in bold letters were now going to newer, younger faces. The same magazines that once celebrated her charm were now running stories asking, "What went wrong with Meg Ryan?" She hadn't changed, Hollywood had. The same system that built her up had no room for her once she stepped outside its rules. Years later, when she was asked about it, Meg said something that cut straight through the noise. She said, "I didn't feel like I belonged anymore. Fame had stopped feeling joyful." It wasn't bitterness, it was truth. Because sometimes the moment that ends a career isn't an explosion, it's silence. The quiet absence of calls, the stillness after the spotlight fades, the realization that what you built no longer fits who you've become. And yet, even in that silence, there's something hauntingly beautiful about her story. Because while Hollywood forgot her, the world never truly did. People still rewatch You've Got Mail, still smile when they hear her laugh, still feel something warm when they remember what she represented, the kind of love that felt simple, honest, possible. But behind that memory lies the story of a woman who dared to step outside the frame the world had painted for her and paid the price for it. That was the moment that changed everything. She left Los Angeles quietly. No press release, no farewell tour, no public announcement. Just a soft fade out, the kind that happens not with a bang, but with a whisper. One day, her name stopped appearing in headlines. The paparazzi who once followed her every move stopped showing up. And for the first time in years, Meg Ryan could walk into a grocery store without hearing someone whisper her name behind the aisle. To the public, it looked like a fall. But to her, it felt like freedom. For decades, she had lived under the lens where every smile was analyzed, every gesture magnified, every rumor twisted into a headline. And when it was finally over, she found herself staring at something unfamiliar: peace. In interviews much later, she spoke about those years not with regret, but with clarity. She said Hollywood had become a machine that no longer felt human. She talked about how fame distorts reality, how it teaches you to perform even when the cameras are off, how it makes you forget the difference between applause and affection. And yet, she missed parts of it too. The thrill of a live audience laughing at the perfect line. The magic of a scene coming alive under warm lights. The quiet moment after a director calls cut when everyone knows something beautiful just happened. It's strange, isn't it? The same thing that takes from you can also give you the best years of your life. But even as she disappeared from the big screen, Hollywood couldn't fully let her go. Every few years, a new generation discovered When Harry Met Sally and Fell in Love all over again. Clips of her scenes flooded social media, people calling her timeless, real, the actress who made love stories feel human. Her films aged differently. They didn't rely on special effects or high budgets, just chemistry, dialogue, warmth. And that's what made her unforgettable. Meanwhile, in the quiet corners of New York, she started writing. Not scripts, reflections. Notes about fame, art, love, and how easy it is to lose yourself when the world only loves a version of you. Friends say she spent hours walking alone, often unnoticed, sometimes with a coffee in hand, watching people live normal lives, something she once envied deeply. And maybe that's what made her different from most stars. She didn't need the spotlight to feel alive. Because at her core, Meg was never chasing fame. She was chasing meaning. And in that search, she found something most actors never do herself. Still, the question lingers. Could she ever come back? Would the world welcome her again, not as the sweet girl from the 90s, but as a woman who's seen the other side of fame and learned to love her silence? Some say it's impossible. Others believe the world might be ready again, ready for something authentic, gentle and real in a time when everything feels artificial. Whatever the case, one thing is certain. Meg Ryan's story isn't just about a career that ended. It's about a woman who walked away before Hollywood could finish writing her ending for her. And maybe, just maybe, that was her greatest act of all. Years passed. The Hollywood she once knew, flashing cameras, movie premieres, billboards with smiling faces, kept spinning without her. But every now and then, someone in an interview would mention her name, and it would stir something in the air. Directors who had worked with her spoke of her in reverent tones, the way she could turn silence into dialogue, the way her eyes could tell a story before she even said a word. You could feel it. The industry hadn't forgotten Meg Ryan. It had simply moved too fast for her kind of magic. Nuthatin, and then, sometime around the late 2010s, whispers began. A quiet curiosity. Where is Meg Ryan now? What happened to her? Why did she leave? Suddenly, old clips from Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail were making their rounds again. Teenagers who weren't even born when her movies first came out were discovering her laughing, crying, sharing her scenes on social media with captions like, "They don't make movies like this anymore." That's the funny thing about time. It can erase you from the headlines, but it can also make people realize what they lost. And somewhere in a quiet corner of New York, Meg started to feel it too. That subtle pull of nostalgia. The world that once drained her was now remembering her kindly. Not as the tabloid headline, not as the fallen star, but as the woman who made people feel. So she decided to create again, but on her own terms this time. In 2015, she stepped behind the camera for the first time, directing and starring in Ithaca, a World War II drama about a boy delivering telegrams to families who lost loved ones. It wasn't a blockbuster, but it was deeply personal. It was about loss, hope, and quiet courage, themes she understood better than anyone. Critics didn't rave, but they respected it. And to her, that was enough. Because this time, Meg wasn't chasing applause, she was chasing truth. And truth, unlike fame, doesn't expire. In rare interviews, she spoke softly, thoughtfully. She said she had no regrets. She said she'd lived many lives. In this one, the quiet one, felt the most honest. But those who knew her best said something else. They said the spark never left, that even after all those years away, when she laughed or told a story, the same old light flickered in her eyes, the same light that once made the world fall in love. And maybe that's the thing about real stars. They don't fade, they just drift further away. Until one day someone looks up and realizes they were there all along. Still, the question lingers a whisper among fans and film lovers alike. What if Meg Ryan decided to return for real? Would the world embrace her again? Would the same audiences who once turned away now welcome her back, not as the innocent girl next door, but as a woman who's lived, loved, fallen, and risen again? Maybe she's thinking about it. Maybe she's not. But one thing is certain, her absence left a space no one else has quite filled. Because Hollywood can create stars, but it can't recreate heart. And so, as the years rolled on, Hollywood changed, and not always for the better. The red carpets grew louder. The movies grew faster. But something softer went missing. The golden warmth of the 90s romantic era, those moments when love stories felt real, when eyes meeting across a coffee shop window could move an audience to tears, that was Meg Ryan's world. And when she walked away, it was like someone quietly turned off the light. New actresses came and went. Some were talented, some were strikingly beautiful. But that effortless charm, that blend of vulnerability and strength that Meg carried in every role, it couldn't be copied. It wasn't technique, it was truth. And that truth cost her. Because when she tried to evolve to grow beyond the smiling, wholesome sweetheart everyone adored, the same people who cheered for her once turned away. Hollywood, for all its glamour, is built on fragile love. It'll lift you to the heavens for who you appear to be, but it rarely forgives you for changing. When she dared to break the mold and in the cut, she wasn't just playing a new character, she was declaring, "I'm more than your fantasy." But in doing so, she shattered an illusion. And in that moment, the audience who claimed to love her realized they only loved the version of her they created. That's the tragedy and the beauty of Meg Ryan's story. She didn't lose Hollywood, she outgrew it. She walked away from the glitter, from the endless flashing cameras, from a world that loved her smile but never wanted to understand her silence. And in exchange, she found something far rarer than fame: peace. She built a quiet life writing, directing, spending time with her children, and surrounding herself with people who saw her, not her reflection on a movie poster. Every now and then she'd make a small public appearance, and even in those fleeting moments, you could feel it. That spark never left. It was softer now, but it was real. The woman who once defined Hollywood's golden age of romance didn't disappear because she failed. She disappeared because she succeeded in something most stars never managed to do. She learned how to stop performing. And maybe that's a lesson her story leaves behind. That there's life beyond applause. That walking away isn't always a fall. Sometimes it's a rise into something freer, quieter, more human. Meg Ryan didn't fade. She chose to glow differently. And even if she never returns to the big screen again, her light, that honest, imperfect, human light, will always flicker in the hearts of those who remember when love stories felt real. Because in the end, Meg Ryan didn't just act in romance. She was the romance. And though Hollywood may move on, some stories never truly end.